Hello and welcome back to another episode of Thoughts Per Episode Doctor Who Edition. Today we will be talking about Season 2, Episode 7, Wish World, Part 1 of a two-part finale. Now before we get started, I just want to mention, I normally try to go into these things as blind as possible. I try to avoid all Doctor Who stuff, but there are two key things which would have inevitably coloured my expectations going into this episode. The first thing is that I follow a wonderful account on Instagram who I didn't think to not look at when I opened Instagram this morning, and I saw that they had rated this episode 3.5 stars, which is very low for them, and so I went, oh no, and so I went into Wish World with low expectations. And the second thing is, last week I went back and I watched a Doctor Who official channel YouTube video talking about the Rani's greatest moments, and I left some sort of comment about, it makes sense that they put this video out there. And when I was just browsing YouTube earlier, I saw I had a notification, I clicked on it, it was a reply to my comment, and it was someone going, yeah, it all makes sense now, the video's about the Rani, the video's about Omega, and I just went, oh, that's a spoiler, isn't it? The Omega's gonna be part of this story, isn't he? So, all that aside, what did I actually think of Wish World? I had a really good time. I really liked this episode, actually. Again, maybe it's because I went in with low expectations, but I would counter that argument and say I was looking for the flaws as I was watching it, because I was like, what makes this episode 3.5 stars as I was watching it? Turns out, subjectivity. And we'll get to that in a minute. But yeah, I will say, this doesn't feel like it's an entirely new idea. It feels more like it's an amalgamation of previous finales and double episode ideas, but in a good way. It's a good soup. First of all, this episode reminded me fairly heavily of Silence in the Library, with Donna Noble and her unreality, and how she was slowly starting to realize that, her reality wasn't actual reality, her life wasn't real, and those little moments of, hang on a minute, I don't actually remember that, though. It was very Silence in the Library to me. However, that was written by Stephen Moffat, this was written by Russell T Davies, so I think we can give that a pass. And then I'm reminded of the countless Doctor Who finales we have where we're thrown in, and I guess this is also a Stephen Moffat thing, really, when I think about it, but we're thrown into a world which doesn't make sense, and we have to follow it back and figure out how things got this way. Usually the Doctor is not a part of the world being weird, having the Doctor's memories be altered is new to this type of story, but of course it's not new to the show. We have the John Smith persona during... episode titles. My aging brain. Family of Blood, god damn it. But yeah, you see what I mean when I say it feels like an amalgamation of previous Doctor Who ideas, but mixed in a way which is fun and interesting in its own way. I do also think this was heavily inspired by WandaVision. Now, I'll be real, going into this season finale I was a little bit concerned, because Doctor Who has not been renewed for season 3, and so you can see that they might try to wrap up all of the loose dangling story threads in one finale. I still don't know if they're trying to do all of them, but I knew that we were probably going to be getting another member of the Pantheon showing up, because that's just what we've been doing, and I was thinking, how are you going to pay off the Rani and the Rani, and whoever this third threat was that was teased by Russell T Davies on Instagram, and Susan, and also have the Pantheon of Gods plotline being weaved into it. And I think it was really wise to take a member of the Pantheon and have them, instead of being their own villain, their own character, turn them into more of a tool for our pre-existing villains to use so that they can take center spotlight. And of course, getting Conrad to make a world is a kind of a gross idea. We see how that works out with the heteronormativity and the ableism and all of that stuff. But I actually even like the kind of wibbly-wobbly, timey-wimey sci-fi babble plot that they're going with. The idea of you needed to use this kind of magical power to create this wishful world so that you can kind of harvest the cracks that people have as they begin to form doubts about that world's, truth. and you can use that to, if you get a Time Lord to have those doubts, you can use that to punch a hole in reality and get to what the Rani called the Underverse, where Omega is trapped. And I'm so curious about that, because Omega, for those of you who don't know, is another Time Lord figure from Classic Who. He is the first Time Lord, and in some Doctor Who lore, which is probably going to be rewritten / has already been rewritten for Timeless Child stuff, Omega is who the Doctor was before the Doctor was the Doctor, so I wonder if they'll be addressing that at all. But it's super interesting to me that we're just going deeper and deeper into this Time Lord plot, and like, what are we doing with the Time Lords? Why are we spending so much time with them? Also, part of me is really glad this isn't the Master, because as much as I was hoping to see Missy again specifically, and I still do hope that that happens, it's nice that we're getting a Master break, because much like the Daleks in previous seasons, the Master was a little commonly used. And it's nice that we're taking this time in this era to explore other Time Lord villains and, figures from the show's past which could make a comeback in new and interesting ways, intersecting with the updated lore of the show. Like, why is Omega coming back? Why does Omega want to escape the Underverse or whatever? What does the Rani want with Omega? What's even going on with the Rani? How did she survive? I guess not the Time War, but the Master killing everyone in an instant second, which has still not really been explored in any reasonable way. Do we think that Omega has it within their ability to bring back the Time Lords? I find it interesting that Russell T Davies is spending so much time all of a sudden with Time Lords and the lore of Time Lords, because when he first brought back the show in 2005, it was very much with the intent of getting away from Time Lords. He was almost embarrassed by them, these pompous figures who had these overcomplicated plots which kind of alienated viewers from actual characterization and stuff like that. Like, that's why the Time War happened. That's why the Time Lords died off screen. And of course, he played with that towards the very end of his run, with the Time Lords coming back and being villainous and Rassilon showing up and everything. But yeah, I'm still a little curious, like, what changed its mind? Is it because fans have engaged with the show's lore in more of a broad way than he was expecting them to, and he feels like it's safe to bring back the Time Lords? I don't know. If he's even bringing back the Time... You know what I mean. You know what I mean. Oh, and let's not forget about Rogue's cameo in a quote-unquote hell dimension that was sliding into the pit. Looks at episode The Satan Pit. Yes, I'm still on my bullshit. That does seem like a season 3 thing, to be fair. Now, my friend's 3.5 stars, I will relate it here just because it obviously had an impact on me. I went back and read it after I saw the score and after I saw the episode. Bad Wolf Archives on Instagram, and I don't know if they're still on Twitter, but go follow them because they are great. They mentioned that they thought that this episode's last 15 minutes or so were over-expository, melodramatic, and almost a parody of Doctor Who itself. And I guess if I think about it, I can understand that take. I can see that. But honestly, I think where this was more than that for me was I just enjoyed every second of it. I enjoyed Varani going on her expository dialogue about her master plan, and the fact that the expository dialogue was part of her master plan because she needed the Doctor to have these doubts about reality to punch through that crack through reality. I think that does some heavy lifting to give that a bit of a pass, but it's probably stuff like the hammy, the Doctor falling and screaming Rani. I actually really liked that. I know it was cheesy, I know it was hammy, but I loved that so much. However, I am very aware that this is half a story, and if we cast our minds back to season 1, I was very excited and hyped and enjoying myself after the first half of that finale, and then I was very disappointed and let down by the second half of it, so I am reminding myself that that could still be the case, that could still happen here. But yeah, I don't know, we've still got to see what's going on with Susan, and we've still got to see what's going on with Omega, apparently, and how is Belinda gonna survive, and how is the Doctor gonna survive. Oh my god, a cliffhanger. How will our heroes get out of this one? I see it. I see the hamminess and the parodiness. But also, I don't think I'm going into this finale expecting as much revelatory information as I was from the previous finale last season. I think I have a pretty good idea of where things are going. I'm just curious to see what they do with Omega, and I'm curious to see if we're going to have that interaction with Susan. Maybe she was also trapped in the Underverse for some reason. Maybe that's something that happened to her during the Time War, because we know she was active during the Time War. There's Big Finish audios, and they are canon. Just really hoping they're not pulling another season 1 and teasing us with these things and then just, being like, not really, haha, smile. Oh, you thought that was actually Susan? No, that was a psychic projection by the Master within the Gold Tooth, just to fuck with the Doctor. Yeah, no, she died years ago. Russell, don't you dare. But yeah, I think that's all I've got to say about Wishworld. I think it was a really fun time. I had a really great time with it. I hope other people feel the same. And I will catch you back here next week for the Reality War. I was going to say the Reality Bomb, but Davros isn't in this one, I guess. I'll see you then.